Hello and welcome to the Willowwood Wetland Preserve. I'm gonna have to practice saying that a few times. So this is, if you did see the first episode in this series, it was out quite a while ago. I think I did it back out before the summer, which is quite a bit before I am recording this voiceover. This build, just as like a, I don't know if it's, I don't think it's gonna come up, but just for full transparency, this build I actually did back then as well. I did this back before the summer, but the voiceover is more recent. So I'm gonna do my best to kind of talk through what I did building this. I obviously kind of remember what I did building it, but it's been a while. So for this series, I would call this a bit of a revitalization of the idea that came with this series. We're sticking with the same map, we're sticking with the same entry building that we did way back when, but I have some new ideas for the overall vision and like purpose of this series. So originally the idea was highlight the wetland animal pack, do this kind of quick, probably only a few habitats, a few episodes, etc., like keep it supernatural and everything else. But I was taking a look at this map and I really like it. I put a lot of effort into making this map. And I was taking a look at this first, like this building you're gonna see being made in this episode here. And thinking that, I don't know, it was just such a cool, I don't know, I thought it was such a cool idea, something very unique that I haven't done before in the game. And I really wanted to continue going with it. So there are actually a ton of wetland animals in the game in general, not even just the few that came with the wetland pack. So we're going to be highlighting a lot more than just the animals that came with this pack. I've got plans for, oh my gosh, so many animals, a bunch of multi-animal habitats as well, because a bunch of them get some enrichment from sharing with each other and all of that fun stuff. So I'm really looking forward to that. And I think that's going to be super cool. We're going to build this up. It's still going to stay, like, we're going to keep the landscape as best that we can. And this is on sandbox mode, but I'm keeping on like animal welfare, guest welfare, that kind of thing, just for a little bit of an extra challenge to, have to actually add in guest facilities and have to, make sure we have the enrichment and everything we need for the animals and their little enclosures do fit them as best as possible while keeping with the natural landscape and the natural vegetation that's here. So I think that'll be a fun little challenge. But mostly this zoo, it's called a preserve, I guess, because I'm trying to make it not too zoo-like. But the main idea here is what I'm going to be playing with most is architecture in this game. So not that I'm an architect, not that I'm like any kind of professional builder or anything like that, but I wanted to find a bunch of really cool and unique buildings to try to emulate or design my own kind of thing off of them. That would be very different from what I typically do and using a lot of cool shapes and cool ideas that aren't necessarily like the easiest things to do in the game, just to see how it would go, see how I can do it and all of that. So this one is a very long build today because this building is something else. I tried quite a bit back and forth here to figure out the best way to kind of set things up. So when we had a bunch of repeating pieces all the way around this circle, I didn't have to put them in over and over again. So here I am kind of thinking, okay, I need to do the roof, I need to do the wall, I need to do the underneath, everything all at once. And it did work out quite well, I think. It still took forever, but that's just because this building has such a cool shape and it's such a unique shape. I got this idea from a building I just found it on Pinterest. It was similar. It was from, I think, a wetland environment. It was from a park of some sort or a preserve of some sort. And I just thought it was such a cool shape. And it gives you this very 360-degree view. It's essentially an observation building that the guests in this game aren't going to use it really the way that it should be used. I might have to add a few viewpoints inside or something. But the idea is you can come up here and get a full view of the landscape. So you can kind of get a view of some of the animals that are further away. You can just kind of check out the beauty that is in the natural wetland here as well. So that's kind of the idea. It's full of windows all the way around. And then the little unique kind of triangle shape at the back there is mostly just used for staff facility and guest food and that kind of thing. So yeah, it works quite well. A lot of guests do come up here just because this is so far the only food place in the in the zoo. So we'll see if they keep using it. But this is actually right in the middle of the red-crowned crane habitat. So I did make that a walkthrough habitat here, although I think although it has changed, I think, since I built this. I was talking about this in when I was playing in Mount Borealis Zoo as well the other day. The animals can like hop over the fences on the pathways now. It used to be that they couldn't, and now they do. So I don't actually know. Maybe the cranes can get up into this building now, but the idea was they couldn't get over the fencing on the pathways, so they didn't actually come up to the building, and the guests couldn't really interact with them directly, but they could walk like right through their habitat. So, I mean, if they can, it's not that big of a deal. But yeah, I forgot to check that out actually after this. But yeah, maybe they can't. Maybe it's only jumping animals that can go over the fences now. But either way, so yeah, right here, I thought, okay, we do the flooring, do the walls, and it did kind of work out, but then I realized that the floors obviously weren't a perfect circle, and it was easier to build a perfect circle. So I had to end up redoing the pathways here, but it was easy enough to redo them once to like kind of match the building a little bit better. Much easier than making the building match the non-circular path, that's for sure. And yeah, playing with the trying to get the paths in this game to like snap perfectly how you want them is always a little bit of a challenge. But we got there, I think, in the end, at least something pretty decent. And yeah, cool little building. The roof as well, I don't think I really talked about it, but it's a little bit of a mixture. So it has a lot of the beams, like structural beams kind of going across it. So it's not super sunny on the inside, but it's like, so you get a little bit of shade, obviously, wandering around in there, but you still get a lot of sunlight, which is nice. It's also not a very tall building. It's only the like 4 meters tall or whatever the default is. But I think that's okay because we're so high up. You don't really want it to be like look too ridiculous anyway. And yeah, I don't know. I think I kind of liked the idea of using the windows with the support pieces in them rather than just the plain glass pieces for the roof. Mostly because actually, no, I don't think they snap anyway. I don't know. I actually don't know why I picked the ones with the metal on them. I think I figured it would just kind of add a little bit to it, but they do cross over a bit here and there. You can't really look too closely, but I think in the end I think it looks pretty decent. But I will say trying to do this kind of stuff not on a grid is tough. Trying to make it look proper, especially in these little openings in the circle. So it's not like, you could do a perfect circle and then you have to like take away a few pieces, but this isn't quite a perfect circle because the pathway has to come off of it and we're not coming off at a 90 degree angle. So I would say that's probably the trickiest part of this whole build, for sure, is those openings and trying to make them look half decent when they're kind of like straight and yeah, just a little bit off. But I think in the end, I mean, yeah, nobody's looking all that closely at it anyway. So I think it works out. And yeah, I don't remember if I add more beams here or just desperately trying to make these beams straight because for some reason they just were not even close to being straight vertically. But yeah, that is that. So I think there's this building. Obviously I add in the walls to like the rest of this area. This building doesn't go into the open. We're gonna add in walls all the way around the outside and kind of sticking with this very like modern sort of look. Same with this it's a very modern architecture kind of shape, so I wanted to stick with those same pieces as well. A lot of glass, a lot of wood, and just trying to make that, I think it looks a little bit more natural, the glass and wood kind of feel. So I think we're gonna go for a lot of that in this zoo in general. All of our kind of cool architecture pieces, I think, yeah, are gonna be glass and wood, glass and wood, glass and wood. I'll try to do as much as I can for like making everything a little bit more interesting than the last one, you know what I mean? Or maybe not. Well, I don't know if anything's going to be more interesting than this building, to be honest. But I think you know what I mean. Not every building is going to be the exact same, even though I'm hoping I can make it so that they fit a similar theme. Not the exact same buildings, different shapes, different kind of unique little aspects to them, but I'll try to make them as as cohesive as possible anyway, so they look like they all belong here is kind of the idea. Whereas a lot of the zoos that I've done before, or like, well, I guess Naropa City Zoo I tried similarly, to make everything kind of on theme. Borealis Zoo is a lot more all over the place, different themes constantly going on in that one. So this one we're kind of coming back to trying to make it all very, very cohesive, and I think that'll be good. I think that'll look really good in this very natural environment. But yeah, overall plans for this zoo, tons of habitats. So I do have plans for a lot of this. The series is going to go on for a while. And I think it's going to be kind of the sandbox series of the channel, because all of our other series have been so far franchise mode series. So although this would have been a really cool one to do in franchise mode, I don't think I could have gotten the, like, although I guess we did the environment in Mount Borealis beforehand, but I don't know. I think it's kind of nice to have the full freedom of being able to build like a building like this right off the bat. Otherwise, we wouldn't have had money for this. So it's nice to be able to build, not worry too much about whether or not the guests are paying enough money to get in. You know, when we only have a couple animals, we can still make some cool builds and all of that. So that's kind of what I'm thinking in general, what we're going to go with for this one. And yeah, I've got our next episode. I've actually, at the time of filming this voiceover, I have already filmed it, so I can give you a little bit of a preview for that one. We're going to be doing a flamingo habitat. So similar to the red-crowned crane, but I was thinking, you know, we have a few birds. So we have the crane, the flamingo, and the cassowary are all wetland animals, or like can be. I'm sure some of them have other habitats as well, but those are all kind of natural wetland animals. So I'm thinking we'll do birds kind of right at the front of the zoo, just because I think that's quite common, and that way it's all kind of themed together at least a little bit. So yeah, the next episode is a flamingo habitat, which turns out pretty cool. The building in that one is not as elaborate as this one, but it's really nice, and I really like how it turned out. So look forward to that one as well. And then we're going to do a bunch of the water animals as well. I'm thinking a whole kind of area where we have the saltwater crocodile, the American alligator, the dwarf caiman, and the spotted caiman, all kind of in the same general area, maybe underneath some of our bridges, because we are going to have to do some bridging across the wetland for our guests to get throughout the whole thing. So I'm thinking it'd be kind of cool to have, you know, the bridges and the animals on either side, and you're kind of like walking over top of their habitat a little bit. For those animals, I think that would be super cool. So we'll probably do something like that. And then, yeah, I mean, we obviously have a ton of other animals that we're putting in here. The beaver is a wetland animal. We've got tortoises that would fit really well in here. The hippos, obviously all the animals that came with the pack. I'm thinking a leopard too, maybe the clouded leopard. Leopards are actually, like, they live in wetlands as well. And then we've got like the Asian otter, the water buffalo that came with this pack. They actually get enrichment sharing with the Indian rhino and the Malaysian tapir. So I think I might do one big habitat for like all four of those animals a little bit further back, with a really big habitat and a really cool building like this over there. I think that would be awesome. Lemurs as well live in wetland habitats, so we might just do, because especially now that we have like 3 different types of lemurs in the game, I think I would just do a big habitat with all of them, one on one of the land pieces, but because I don't know if they swim per se. We'll have to check it out. But yeah, they probably will have more of like just a land focused habitat, but still in this zoo. So yeah, I think that'll be super cool. And I'm also thinking about a boat ride going through. We have kind of in the area that we will be building in, there is sort of like a big central lake. So I was thinking boat ride would be perfect to go through there. A little bit gimmicky, I guess, but I think we can kind of, I don't know, I think it's worth it for this zoo to be able to do something cool like that. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that. And yeah, back to kind of what we're doing here. Clearly I decided I didn't like what I did for the roof and wanted to simplify it a bit more. I think essentially all I do here is leave it open in the center, because I don't know, why not, I guess. I wasn't gonna you can't put flooring, like you can't put pathway in the middle anyway. So yeah, it kind of made sense maybe to just leave it more open. um, in the middle there. But of course, we got to try to figure out how to get the windows to match up and give up on windows and put down put down the wooden planks instead. This is, yeah. Domes, great. Dome openings, no, not great. That's the bane of this whole build, I would say, is all of those like entryways into this circular building. But I think it works out in the end. I think we'll get there. We'll get there eventually. But yeah, of course, if you have any suggestions for this zoo, let me know. I know I do a lot of planning and setting up for this kind of stuff just in case, everybody is happy with my plans. But of course, if you have any suggestions, let me know. Or if I think I kind of mentioned all the animals that are coming into this one, all the ones from the pack, the Babirusa as well. I was thinking about adding in, and yeah, I think that's kind of all of them. Oh, with the beaver, I think I'm gonna do the raccoon and the skunk as well, just because they live everywhere, and they all share some enrichment together. So yeah, I think that's pretty much everything that I had on my list. But of course, if you have anything else that you would want to see, any other animals that you're like, oh, this one in the you missed something. You missed an animal that's very obviously a wetland animal and should be in this zoo, just let me know, of course. And yeah, so back to the build a little bit here. I decided to leave the inside open. This is kind of an awkward point of looking at things because it was hard for me to get like a perfect view underneath of what was going on here. But yeah, the top is now a hole, and we're gonna put walls on the inside of this circle instead of having it just a full enclosed thing. I think it looks a little bit better this way, and it works out quite well. So yeah, that is all that we're really doing here. But yeah, I'm hoping I can find a lot of good inspiration for buildings and such that we can add into this zoo, because I think there's going to be, it's going to be big. It's going to be a big zoo. And I would love to kind of feature some kind of architectural build in almost every habitat. Definitely every episode. So there might be hopefully every episode. So there might be like one building that kind of surrounds a few habitats, because that is one thing about that you're probably going to find in this series is there isn't really the habitats themselves. We don't actually spend a lot of time building the habitats because I'm trying to keep them very natural, and the wetland landscape is already done in this zoo, obviously. Whereas normally when you build a zoo, you have to build the whole landscape of the actual habitat. So that is one thing. If you're going to come here for this series, come here for the building builds, not the habitat builds, because the habitats themselves are going to be quite boring. The buildings are the star of the show for this series by far. So yeah, every episode will have some kind of cool architectural build, whether it's, something in a habitat or if it's something for the guests. We need an area where, the guests can have lunch and that kind of thing. Because there hasn't been one for a while or something. And yeah, that should be, I think it will be overall pretty good. But yeah, I don't really think there is a whole lot more for me to chat about for this one. It's hard for these super long speed builds, because it's kind of a lot of the same thing over and over again. So there's not a lot to talk about with the actual build. And I think I just gave you the full introduction of this zoo and kind of our plans and everything. So I think at this point it will be worth it to just leave you with the rest of the speed build if you want to watch it. And the inside here, you're gonna see we're gonna add in a bunch of, a few, not a bunch, but a few shops and that kind of thing. And then that's basically it. The actual habitat, I don't do much with the actual habitat. We're just gonna add some enrichment for them, a cute little place to watch them from. And yeah, that is basically it. So I hope you enjoy the rest of the episode, and I hope you enjoy this series as it's coming back. Let me know in the comments if you have any suggestions, any questions, or let me know what you think about this series if you're excited for it, if it's not really your thing, or if you're excited about seeing some cooler buildings and that kind of thing, start to go through here. So yeah, as always, let me know, and I will talk to you in the next one.